diving. Hope comes and stops us in our tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Hello and welcome to Raw Recovery, a Trudging Together podcast. This is the Big Book Thumping series. We have covered quite a lot. There is a solution, chapter 2 today, and it seems to be going pretty well. People are listening to it. I apologize. It's been a few days. I got pretty busy. I'll try and stay a little more consistent on this. But now we're going to get into the solution part. We've been talking about how alcoholism has affected our lives. We understand a few more things, that we have a disease, a mental illness, something that is beyond our control, but there is a solution. And that is what we're going to talk about today. I am not sure if this will be divided up, but we will see how far we will get. All right. This is really, really where the first 164 pages starts. And where are we at again? What is the first word? We. Because we do this together, period. You got to have a guide. I'm hoping to guide you a little bit, but this is more of a convenience to help out more than it is anything else. So let's get started. Chapter 2, there is a solution. We of Alcoholics Anonymous know thousands of men and women who were once just as hopeless as Bill. Nearly all have recovered. They have solved the drink problem. There's that recovered word. Let's go ahead and underline it. Remember, every time we see recovered, we're going to underline it. I'm trying to get something into your head. I want you to understand that one day you're going to become a recovered alcoholic, and I want you to feel that. That's one reason why we bring it up. That it is possible. We tend to think it's not possible. All right. We are average Americans. All sections of the country and many of its occupations are represented, as well as many political, economic, social, and religious backgrounds. We are a people who would not normally mix, but there exists among us a fellowship, a friendliness, and an understanding which is indescribably wonderful. We are like the passengers of a great liner the moment after rescue from shipwreck, when camaraderie, joyousness, and democracy pervade the vessel from steerage to captain's table. Unlike the feeling of the ship's passengers, however, our joy in escape from a disaster does not subside as we go our individual ways. The feeling that we have shared in a common peril is one element in the powerful cement which binds us, but that in itself would never have held us together as we are now joined. So when we get to the program, we feel like we're terminally unique. And if you had the problems that I had, you would drink too, right? And a lot of us have these. We have these problems. So. And we run around and we've gone through something, but we have this loneliness. So when we come here and find out that there's other people like us, that's where that feeling comes in. Have you ever gone and done something like, what's it called? Like an outdoor adventure. I forget what it's called, but where you spend 5 days with 10 people doing trust stuff. And you get real close over those, even if it's 2 or 3 days, you can get pretty close with these people. You can feel like you've known them forever. You can feel that way, right? Now, when you leave and you don't see each other anymore, that feeling tends to start to fade. It becomes a memory. But for us, it's something entirely different. It doesn't go away. In fact, what we want is more of it because it makes us feel good, right? Yeah. The other thing that they're saying here is everybody's represented. Everyone is represented. There is not a field in the world that AA is not a part of. Okay. Pilots, doctors, lawyers, judges, congressmen, presidents. I don't know about presidents, but So it runs the full gamut, does it not? Aha. See, alcohol is no respecter of persons. It does not care about your gender. It does not care what ethnicity you are. It doesn't care if you think you're a kitty cat. Doesn't matter. Nope. And therefore, neither does AA. We don't care either. You're welcome. Come on in, man. We do not fear you. We do not fear you. Okay. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have found out a way. We have a way out on which we absolutely agree, and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news the book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism. They're talking about the first 100. The first 100 people wrote the book. That is the miracle of the book, that 100 alcoholics could agree on something. Right? There is more to it, but that'll be for another time. An illness of this sort, and we have become to believe is an illness. Okay, I'm gonna stop there real quick. Science has proven we are born with this disease. There you go. There you go. It has been proven. Involves those about us in a way no other human sickness can. If a person has cancer, all are sorry for him, and no one is angry or hurt. But not so with the alcoholic illness, for with it, there goes annihilation of all things worthwhile in life. It engulfs all whose lives touch the sufferers. It brings misunderstanding, fierce resentment, financial insecurity, disgusted friends and employers, warped lives of blameless children, and sad wives and parents. Anyone can increase the list. These are what we would call side effects. The side effects of mental illnesses come in this form. They do. Okay. It is not easy to live with an alcoholic, period. And we have to admit that. Okay. I had to make it easier for people to be around me. All right. Okay. So alcoholism, and then the stigma that also tends to be involved with some of this, right? Yeah, there's still stigma. And what is stigma? I'll let you know what it is. It just means the person's naive. It means they don't understand, but they're still angry about it. That's not your fault. You're going to run into stigma. It's okay. It's all right. Just be you, man. Just be you. If somebody has a problem with you being sober, well, they probably got a problem. But for the grace of God go I, right? Okay. We hope this volume will inform and comfort those who are or may be affected. There are many. Highly competent psychiatrists who have dealt with us have found it sometimes impossible to persuade an alcoholic to discuss a situation without reserve. Strangely enough, wives, parents, and intimate friends usually find us even more unapproachable than do the psychiatrist and the doctor. Why? Why? I'm going to tell you why. We don't like being told what to, nobody likes being told what to do. But an alcoholic, ooh, nope. And if you want something from us, you can forget it. Why that's the deal breaker, I don't know. You just want something from me. Isn't that the way it always felt, right? Even if it was just to get sober, if it would just change your life. Frothy, remember we talked in the doctor's opinion, frothy emotional appeal seldom suffices. This disease is going to kill you. I know. It didn't scare me. In fact, I kind of welcomed the idea, didn't I? Sure did. There were days I woke up and cursed God for being alive. So let's move on here. But the ex-problem drinker, okay, that is somebody who's a recovered alcoholic, like myself and you, who has found this solution, who is properly armed with facts about himself, can generally win the entire confidence of another alcoholic in a few hours. Until such an understanding is reached, little or nothing can be accomplished. Okay. I'm going to tell you the main thing that happens in this. This is the number one reason people get sober. Okay. Sober, not recovery. Sober means no longer drinking. When they find out that they are actually affecting the people around them, that's when so when we say we got to get sober for ourselves, man, we're kind of cutting off our nose to spite our face, aren't we? Now, please don't get me wrong. We're going to do recovery for ourselves. It's the only way recovery works. You got to do it for yourself. But when you're a person who does not love themselves, you got to love yourself before you can start doing it. So why not fake it till you make it? It's one of our things. Okay? I got sober for my wife and kids. I stay sober for me. I did the work for myself. But it took months before I was willing to do anything for Dion. Okay? So this may take a little bit of time. But I found that when people find out, this is how I do it. You know what the best gift I gave my mommy? Now notice I sound like I'm 5. Why? Because I'm talking with a 5-year-old emotionally. And I want it to feel that way. I'm bringing you back because I want you to feel the feeling that you love your mommy, that you love your daddy, your brothers, your sisters, your favorite auntie, your nana. They're all worried about you. They are losing sleep because of your drinking. The best gift I ever gave all those people was to stop drinking so that they didn't have to sit there and wait for that 3 a.m. phone call that I'm dead in a ditch. And say it like that, dead in a ditch. And give me dead in a ditch, or even worse. Your son's in jail because he killed somebody's little girl. Is that what you want for life? Because that's a definite possibility if you are an alcoholic like me. The man that who's making the approach has had the same difficulty, that he obviously knows what he is talking about, that his whole deportment shouts at the new prospect that he is a man with a real answer. He has no attitude of holier than thou, nothing whatever except the sincere desire to be helpful, that there are no dues, that there are no fees to pay, no axes to grind, no people to please, no lectures to be endured. These are conditions we have found most effective. After taking such approach, many take up their beds and walk again. I'm going to tell you what it is. We're not hiding anything here. I'll let you know what this is. Okay, it's unconditional love. I'm passing on what was given to me for free. Not only that, but wasn't it nice to finally not have to fucking explain yourself again? This person just knew. Let's use loneliness. When I go into a meeting and I say I'm feeling lonely around a bunch of alcoholics, I don't need to say anything else. They already know what I'm talking about. That's one reason why it works so well. Because I don't have to sit there and go, I don't know why I do this shit. Because there's a person in front of me saying, I know why you do this shit. I know why you drink. I know why you took a left instead of a right to go home and ended up at the bar instead. I know why. And I don't want anything from you. I'm not even going to lecture you. In fact, I may even shut up and listen. It's the best way for it to work when there's no expectation. Okay? All right. None of us makes a sole vocation of this work, nor do we think its effectiveness will be increased if we did. I have to be careful here. Okay. I'm just going to bring this up real quick. I have to be careful here because sometimes all I do is recovery and I need other things in my life. So it's a balance. We feel the elimination of our drinking is but a beginning. A much more important demonstration, which is action. Demonstration is action of our principles lies before us in our respective homes, occupations, and affairs. All of us spend much of our spare time in the sort of effort which we are going to describe. A few fortunate enough to be so situated they can give nearly all their time to the work. That's me. Okay. And I do it on purpose. I'll also let you know I'm broke. I'm broke all the time, but somehow, some way, God keeps a roof over my head. He keeps gas in my car. He keeps make sure that I have enough money for food and my meds and things. So I'm very free. I am not tied down. One thing that I also do is when I go out, I make sure I have my chip with me. I keep it in my pocket. I'll pull out change. People say, "What's that?" And it gives me a reason to discuss. If I go to the doctor's office, if I talk to a parole officer, I tell them what I do. I give them my information. I talk to anybody. If I am at the ER, I am going to talk to the charge nurse. I'm going to talk to the nurses up front. Maybe I got some time on my hands. Hey, do you guys have an alcoholic that would be willing to talk to somebody like me? You never know. They might say yes. You never know. Probably not, but they might say yes. Do something. You're there. Okay. If we keep the way we are going, there is little doubt that much good will result. But the surface of the problem would hardly be scratched. Those of us who live in large cities are overcome by the reflection that close by hundreds are dropping into oblivion every day. Many could recover if they had the opportunity we have enjoyed. How then shall we present that which has been so freely given to us? How you do this does matter. It does. Right? Here's kind of what it is for me. It's humility. I don't take credit. I don't. Why? I don't need to take credit. Okay? I because what I do is I claim my spiritual progress. Okay? And that's real easy. I'm just going to teach you this. We'll talk about this more when we get to the third step. Okay? But it says we claim spiritual progress. How do we do that? Good job. I just patted myself on the back twice. That's it. I'm done. I'm over. Now I can move on. I got my accolades. I feel good about myself. Yip-de-doo. I feel accomplished. Now I'm free. I'm free. And you'll feel it too. You'll feel that balance. You'll feel that serenity because that's what we're after. We're after serenity. Right? So we have concluded to publish an anonymous volume setting forth the problem as we see it. We shall bring to the task our combined experience and knowledge. This should suggest a useful program for anyone concerned with a drinking problem. So 100 people and all their friends did this. Of the combined knowledge, man. Wow. It is more powerful than you know. Okay? When an AA group grows, it becomes an unstoppable force of good. All right. Needed a little bit of drinking juice there. Of necessity. Okay, so there's things we're going to need to talk about. Okay? Get used to hard conversations. That's what we have around here. If hard conversations become normal for you, that's great. It means you have some good, strong boundaries. It means that you've done a great fourth and fifth step is what I mean. All right. Of necessity, there will have to be discussion of matters medical, psychiatric, social, and religious. We are aware that these matters are, from their very nature, controversial. Nothing would please us so much as to write a book which would contain no basis for contention or argument. we shall do our utmost to achieve that ideal. Most of us sense that real tolerance of other people's shortcomings and viewpoints and a respect for their opinions and attributes, which makes us more useful to others. Our very lives as ex-problem drinkers depend on our constant thought of others and how we may help meet their needs. What did they just tell us? Okay. This means when I reach out to somebody, I meet them where they are at because I have been there. If you're the person that has been there and has advanced, okay, has done a little bit more work, then you are the person that needs to go back and meet them where they are at. They cannot meet you where they are at, where you are at. They do not have the tools or the skills yet. That is okay. Nothing wrong with that. You were in that position too. So use it. I know exactly how you feel, and it sucks. It sucks. Okay? I'm going to tell you, it got better for me, and this is how. What is that? That's hope. We need, okay, newcomers need hope. It's the one thing that they need, direction and hope. A little bit of respect. Give them some respect, man. It's not that hard. Well, respect is earned. That motherfucker just pulled his ass to an AA meeting. Do you remember how hard that was? Respect. Hell yeah. And tell him, I respect anybody that tries this. Anyone. I don't care how I feel about you inwardly. I have respect for it. Okay. It's like there's singers out there that I do not like their music, but I respect them as a person because I love what they do. Sure. You may already have asked yourself why it is that all of us become so very ill from drinking. Doubtless, you are curious to discover how and why, in the face of expert opinion to the contrary, we have recovered from a hopeless condition of mind and body. If you are an alcoholic who wants to get over it, you may already be asking, what do I have to do? You're going to have to do some work. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the different types of alcoholics. We're not going to go too much into it, but I want you to understand that AA doesn't just help chronic hopeless alcoholics. Nope. We help anybody that comes in. Some people got a DUI. They need to go to those classes, but they are not alcoholic. They just made a mistake. There's a lot of them in AA. Yeah. We help out anybody that went through a phase in a DUI to the hopeless, helpless, chronic alcoholic. All of them. Why? Because we meet people where they are at. Set. Excuse me. It is the purpose of this book to answer such questions specifically. We shall tell you what we have done. Before going into detailed discussion, it may be well to summarize some of the points we have seen, points as we see them. How many times have people said to us, I can take it or leave it alone? Why can't he? Why don't you drink like a gentleman or quit? That fellow can't handle his liquor. Why don't you try beer and wine? Lay off the hard stuff. His willpower must be weak. He could stop if he wanted to. She's such a sweet girl. I should think he'd stop for her sake. The doctor told him that if he ever drank again, it would kill him. But there he is, all lit up again. Now, these are commonplace observations on drinkers, which we hear all the time. Back of them is a world of ignorance and misunderstanding. We see that these expressions refer to people whose reactions are very different than ours. Yeah, we're still not talking about us yet. Moderate drinkers have little trouble in giving up liquor entirely if they have good reason for it. They can take it or leave it alone. Then we have a certain type of hard drinker. He may have the habit badly enough to gradually impair him physically and mentally. It may cause him to die a few years before his time. If a sufficiently strong reason, ill health, falling in love, change of environment, or the warning of a doctor becomes operative, this man can also stop or moderate, although he may find it difficult and troublesome and may even need a medical attention. I need a little bit more talking juice here. All right. What about the real alcoholic? He may start off as a moderate drinker. He may or may not become a continuous hard drinker, but here's the key right here. But at some stage of his drinking career, he begins to lose all control of his liquor consumption. Once he starts to drink, there's our key. Once I start to drink, that's the problem. Okay? One's too many and a thousand's not enough. Okay? Now we're getting to what we call the page 21 drunk. And I want you to try and look for yourself in here if you can. Okay? Here is a fellow who has been puzzling him, especially in his lack of control. He does absurd, incredible, tragic things while drinking. He is a real Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He is seldom mildly intoxicated. He is always more or less insanely drunk. His disposition while drinking resembles his normal nature but little. He may be one of the finest fellows in the world. Yet, let him drink for a day and he frequently becomes disgustingly and even dangerously antisocial. He has a positive genius for getting tight at exactly the wrong moment, particularly when some important decision must be made or engagement kept. He is often perfectly sensible and well balanced concerning everything except liquor, but in that respect he is incredibly dishonest and selfish. He often possesses special abilities, skills, and aptitudes, and has a promising career ahead of him. He uses his gifts to build up a bright outlook for his family and himself, and then pulls the structure down on his head by a senseless series of sprees. He is the fellow who goes to bed so intoxicated he ought to sleep the clock around. Yet early the next morning he searches madly for the bottle he misplaced the night before. If he can afford it, he may have liquor concealed all over his house, to be certain no one gets entire supply away from him to throw down the waste pipe. As matters grow worse, he begins to use a combination of high-powered sedative and liquor to quiet his nerves so he can go to work. Then comes a day when he simply cannot make it and gets drunk all over again. Perhaps he goes to the doctor with a doctor who gives him morphine or some sedative with which to taper off. Then he begins to appear at hospitals and sanitariums. This is by no means a comprehensive picture of a true alcoholic, as our behavior patterns vary, but this description should identify him roughly. Why does he behave like this? If hundreds of experiences have shown him that one drink means another debacle with all its attendant suffering and humiliation, why is it he takes that one drink? Why can't he stay on the water wagon? What has become of the common sense and willpower he still sometimes displays with respect to other matters? This is a tough question. This is a very tough question. And we have the only answers that we have are going to have to be accepted. Okay, this is where faith is going to kind of come in. But let's figure out. Perhaps we'll never be a full answer to these questions. Opinions vary considerably as to why the alcoholic reacts differently from normal people. We are not sure why. Once a certain point is reached, little can be done for him. We cannot answer this riddle. I wish we could. The closest that I can come to it is we're born with it. But I don't know why. Maybe the other why I can answer with because God chose us. Because if it wasn't for alcoholism, I don't know that I would have ever sought God. I can't think of another reason in my life why I would have sought for God. So maybe the reason is because I needed to be closer to God. That's as close as I can come to it. And I hope it works for you. It did work for me. We know that while alcoholic keeps away from a drink as he can do for many months or years, he reacts much like other men. I don't know about that. Dry drunks, not really. I needed more personally. We are equally positive that once he takes any alcohol, whatever into his system, something happens both in the bodily and mentally sense, which makes it virtually impossible for him to stop. The experience of any alcoholic will abundantly confirm this. These observations would be academic and pointless if our friend never took the first drink, thereby setting the terrible cycle in motion. Therefore, the main problem the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than in his body. If you ask him why he started on that last bender, the chances are he will offer you one of 100 alibis. Sometimes these excuses have a certain plausibility, but none of them really make sense in the light of a havoc alcoholic drinking bout creates. They sound like the philosophy of a man who, having a headache, beats himself on the head with a hammer so he can't feel the ache. If you draw this fallacious reasoning to the attention of an alcoholic, he will laugh it off or become irritated and refuse to talk. It's because we don't know and we don't want to feel stupid. That's why for me. And I didn't want to feel stupid. I didn't have an answer. So I did everything that I could to avoid it. Okay. Once in a while, he may tell the truth, and the truth, strange to say, is usually he has no more idea why he took the first drink than you have. Some drinkers have excuses which they are satisfied part of the time, but in their hearts, they really do not know why they do it. Once this malady has a real hold, they are a baffled lot. There is the obsession that somehow, someday they will beat the game, but they often suspect they are down for the count. The first honest thing I said in AA, I don't know. And to this day, I told you, I still don't know. It is what it is. It's one of those things in life where you can accept it and go with the flow, or you can fight it and be miserable. Those are kind of the options on that. How true this is, few realize in the vague way their family and friends sense that these drinkers are abnormal. But everybody hopefully waits the day when the sufferer will rouse himself from his lethargy and assert his power of will. The tragic truth is that if the man be a real alcoholic, the happy day may not arrive. He has lost all control. At a certain point in the drinking of every alcoholic, he passes into the state of where the most powerful desire to stop drinking is absolutely in no avail. This tragic situation has arrived in practically every case long before it is accepted or suspected. Okay? Patient. See, it's sneaky. Alcohol is also sneaky. See, it doesn't understand time. It's just a little bit at a time, and you didn't notice. It's kind of like growing up. You remember when you were growing up and your aunt would be like, oh, you're growing like a weed. You're like, I look exactly the same. What are you talking about? See, when you're with yourself every single day, you don't notice these subtle changes. That's why it's important that we have people in our life that'll say things like, hey, Dion, I notice you're out of your lane, man. I know your intentions, and this ain't it. Okay? All right. The fact is that most alcoholics, for reason yet obscure, have lost the power of choice in drink. Our so-called willpower becomes practically non-existent. We are unable at certain times to bring into our consciousness with sufficient force the memory of suffering and humiliation of even a week or a month ago, we are without defense against the first drink. I'll forget that I was in jail last week. I will forget. My forgetter works great, especially when it comes to alcohol. Well, it's going to be different this time. You watch. Just watch. Just trust me. Just trust me. I can do this. You see how I can do everything else. Why can't I? Yeah. That's why it becomes so confusing. All right. The almost certain consequence that following taking even a glass of beer do not crowd into the mind to deter us. If these thoughts occur, they are hazy and readily supplanted with the old threadbare idea that this time we shall handle ourselves like other people. There is a complete failure of the kind of defense that keeps one from putting his hand on a hot stove. So here's the thing. Okay. I don't avoid alcohol. No, not a chance. No, it's everywhere. I'm not even going to try and avoid it. I've accepted the fact that it's out there. I do not resent alcohol. I have no feelings towards it. On Friday, I was mowing the lawn. Nice day. Friday, payday. Okay. These are hard days for alcoholics. You know what went through my mind? Oh, a drink would be nice. Of course it went through my mind. I'm an alcoholic. But what I didn't think next was, oh, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to do that. No, that's not what goes into my mind. What goes into my mind is, Dion, you have a 3:00 meeting. I'm thinking of others. Oh, Dion, you got shit to do, man. See, I'd rather do that than drink. I really do. That's how I feel about it now. I don't fight it. I didn't fight that at all. No. Gave it to God and I continued mowing the lawn. And if I would have went out and drank, nothing would have gotten accomplished. And I wouldn't be here. Nope. I'd be in detox. All right. But I know I am without defense against the first drink. So what we do is we set ourselves up to succeed. We do this by praying, going to meetings, and talking with another alcoholic every day. Or what happens? Our forgetter pops in and says, hey, it's been 30 days. You feel great. It's 90 degrees out. Let's put on some Eagles and party. There it is. And bam. Whew. The alcoholic may say to himself in the most casual way, it won't burn me this time, so here's how. Or perhaps he doesn't think at all. How often have some of us begun to drink in this nonchalant way, and after the third or fourth pound of the bar have said to ourselves, for God's sakes, how did I ever get started again? Only to have that thought supplanted by, well, I'll stop with the 6th drink, or what's the use anyhow? When this sort of thinking is fully established in an individual with alcoholic tendencies, he has probably placed himself beyond human aid. They're being nice. There's no probably about it. You have. You're drinking on the fuckets, which is the worst. The worst, the nonchalant. And unless locked up, may die or go permanently insane. I'm going to add on there, or kill other people. These stark and ugly facts have been confirmed by legions of alcoholics throughout history. But for the grace of God, there would have been thousands more convincing demonstrations. So many want to stop, but cannot. So real quick, I want to cover something. You might think that everybody knows about AA, but that is not true. Okay, that is not true. Not everybody knows about AA. Is it a lot more popular? Yes. But usually what it is now is people are like, that is not what I thought it was. They have a lot of contempt prior to investigation. Okay. So, but when we start to drink on the fuckets, that's when we become very dangerous. And at that point, yes, we do need to be locked up. There is a solution. Almost none of us like the self-searching, the leveling of pride, the confession of shortcomings, with the process requires for its successful consummation. A lot in that one sentence, huh? Well, they're pretty much describing what the program is going to be like. A lot of people in the whole world don't do things like this. But for us, for alcoholics, this works imperative if we are to even stay alive, let alone live a joyful life. See, when we know the answers, when we understand what's wrong with us, then we can do something about it, right? This kind of goes to G.I. Joe, man. They had it right. Knowing is half the battle. Knowing is half the battle. But we saw that it really worked in others. So when we get in the program, we don't trust people. We don't even trust ourselves, let alone other people, right? But what we can do is trust in the process because we see it working in other people. So we know that it's true. And when we come to believe in the hopelessness and futility of life as we have been living it, when therefore we were approached by those whom the problem had been solved, there was nothing left for us to pick up the simple kit of spiritual tools laid at our feet. We found much of heaven, and we have been rocketed into a fourth dimension of existence of which we had not even dreamed. All right, so I'm going to talk about something that's a little off topic, but I want you to hear something. It says right here, when therefore we were approached by those in whom the problem had been solved. That is sponsorship. It does not say when we picked a sponsor and approached them. What I'm talking about is the line that I don't know if it's in your AA meetings, but in mine they say, is anybody here willing to be a sponsor? And I get it, we're just kind of opening it up, but we also need to be asking, who here is looking for a sponsor? I do not raise my hand. I pick my sponsees. I know who needs my help. I reach out to them. I'm going to tell you right now, if I would have gone that route where I waited for people, that I call that resting on my laurels. If I do go that route, I would have sponsored one person and they only lasted 2 weeks. I wouldn't have any sponsees. People don't ask me. They want to, but they don't. I don't know what it is. Why? Because it says here that I'm supposed to approach them. Because I am the one with the answer. Okay? Just kind of put a little proof in the pudding. When we get here, we can't even wipe our own butts, let alone pick out the person who's going to guide us. No. I'm the one that has the spiritual attachment to God at the moment. All right. The great fact is just this and nothing less, that we have had deep and effective spiritual experiences which have revolutionized our whole attitude toward life, toward our fellows, and towards God's universe. The central fact of our lives today is the absolute certainty that our Creator has entered into our hearts and lives in a way which is indeed miraculous. He has commenced to accomplish those things for us which we could never do for ourselves. Okay? And that would equal happy, joyous, and free. Being happy, joyous, and free. This is the part where you would stop and read the spiritual experience. If you want to stop right here and go read it, go for it. I'm not going to cover it in this one, just make it too long. But essentially, the spiritual experience says that there's 2 types. There's a sudden upheaval, and then there's the educational variety, which happens over time, which is for most of us. Mine is the educational variety. But that's essentially what you need to know about the spiritual experience to understand this. If you're seriously alcoholic, as we were, we believe there is no middle of the road solution. We were in a position where life was becoming impossible, and if we had passed into the region from when there is no return through human aid, we had but two alternatives. And this is it. These are our options. One was to go on to the bitter end, blotting out the consciousness of our intolerable situation as best we could. And the other, to accept spiritual help. This we did because we honestly wanted to, and we were willing to make an effort. Ooh, okay. Now we've gone from being in that sober, we got sober for reasons, but now that we see our dilemma, we honestly want to do something about it. Okay. Now we're making changes. Now we're in recovery because we've decided I want to do something about this. Okay. Now keep in mind that even making making a decision is not action. Okay. 3 frogs in a log. If you have 3 frogs in a log and 2 of them make the decision to jump off, how many frogs are on the log? There are 3 because 2 of them, they only made a decision. Does not require any action. A certain businessman had good ability, good sense, and high character. For years, he had floundered from one sanitarium to another. He had consulted with the best known American psychiatrists. Then he had gone to Europe, placing himself in the care of the celebrated physician, the psychiatrist, Dr. Young, who prescribed for him. Though experience had made him skeptical, he finished his treatment with unusual confidence. His physical and mental condition were unusually good. Above all, he believed he had acquired such a profound knowledge of the inner workings of his mind and its hidden springs that relapse was unthinkable. Nevertheless, he was drunk in a short time. More baffling still, he could give himself no satisfactory explanation for his fall. So he returned to the doctor, whom he admired, and he asked point blank why he could not recover. He wished above all things to regain self-control. He seemed quite rational, well-balanced with respect to other problems, yet he had no control whatever over alcohol. Why was this? He begged the doctor to tell him the whole truth, and he got it. In the doctor's judgment, he was utterly hopeless. He could never regain his position in society, and he would have to place himself under lock and key or hire a bodyguard if he expected to live long. That was the great physician's opinion. But this man still lives, and he is a free man. He does not need a bodyguard, nor is he confined. He can go anywhere on this earth where other free men may go without disaster, provided he remains willing to maintain a certain simple attitude. There's that willing. You just got to be willing. Once you're willing, man, it's kind of easy to take the next step. It makes it a little bit easier. Some of our alcoholic readers think that they can do without spiritual help. Let us tell you the rest of the conversation our friend had with his doctor. The doctor said, "You have the mind of a chronic alcoholic. I've never seen one single case recover where the state of mind existed to the extent that does in you." Our friend felt as though the gates of hell had closed in on him with a clang. He said to the doctor, "Is there no exception?" "Yes," replied the doctor, "there is. Exceptions to your cases have been occurring since early times. Here and there, once in a while, alcoholics have what they call the vital spiritual experiences. To me, these occurrences are a phenomenon. They appear to be in the nature of huge emotional displacements and rearrangements. Ideas, emotions, and attitude, which were once the guiding forces of these lives of men, are suddenly cast to one side, and a completely new set of conceptions and motives begin to dominate them. In fact, I have been trying to produce such emotional rearrangements within you. With many individuals, the methods which I have employed are successful, but I have never been successful with an alcoholic of your description." Oh. Upon hearing this, our friend was somewhat relieved, for he reflected, after all, he was a good church member. This hope, however, was destroyed by the doctors telling him that while his religious convictions were very good in his case, they did not spell the necessary vital spiritual experience. Here was the terrible dilemma for which our friend found himself when he had the extraordinary experience, which, as we have already told you, made him a free man. We in our turn sought the same escape with all the desperation of drowning men. What seemed at first to be a flimsy reed has proved to be the loving and powerful hand of God. A new life has been given us, or if you prefer, a design for living that really works. Now, I like the design for living. I like that because then I feel like there's something set up for me, and it doesn't feel so religion-y. I'm going to share something. I took a little break. You guys probably noticed. I'm in this group called Counseling in Colorado, and they ask somebody has an addiction, and they ask about, do they help with, and I said, what about 12-step groups? They are free and peer-to-peer is the best. And this counselor wrote back, they do not want anything with religious purview. This tells me something. This person doesn't know about this professional doesn't know shit about AA. Okay. I wrote back and I said, there are a lot of 12-step groups out there that are atheists and agnostic. I'd be happy to send you. Smart Recovery is one of them. What is she? She's naive. But she shouldn't be working with this person. She's not going to be able to help them. She doesn't. She's already been fooled. She's already been fooled. Now, I did not say AA is not a religious program. We are spiritual, because then I just go, yeah, but, I don't get to change people's purviews. It's not how it works. No. Is that what they need? Is that what they feel they need? Great. We have something for that. I still have a solution. You don't want to believe in God? That's great. We still got a solution for you. It's all right. All right. The distinguished American psychologist William James, in his book, Varieties of Religious Experience, indicates a multitudes of ways in which men have discovered God. We have no desire to convince anyone that there is only one way by which faith can be acquired. If what we have learned and felt and seen means anything at all, it means that all of us, whatever our race, creed, or color, are children of a living creator, and with whom we may form a relationship upon simple and understandable terms as soon as we are willing and honest enough to try. Those having religious affiliations will find nothing disturbing to their beliefs or ceremonies. There is no friction among us over such matters. Yeah, if you want to go to church, I do not care who your higher power is. Okay? Because, see, it's going to be your own. This is a personal thing. Okay? Let's talk about routes to recovery here. The AA is the multiple paths to recovery. It is one way to multiple paths to recovery. There are other ways too. AA is not the only way. That would be silly to think. That would be silly. Okay? Personally, I prefer AA for certain reasons. I like the structure. I understand the literature, and I love the fellowship. That's why. But that doesn't mean the other ways don't work. Sure they do. But I can tell you something. You're still going to do the work. Okay? So if you come along and say, AA doesn't work for me, what you're saying is you weren't willing to do the work. I understand. That's fine. You're saying, so I'm going to go to Smart Recovery. Well, you're still going to do the work. All right. We think no concern of ours what religious bodies our members identify themselves with as individuals. This should be an entirely personal affair which each one gets to decide for himself in the light of past associations or his present choice. Not all of us join religious bodies, but most of us favor such memberships. Everybody gets their own. In the following chapter, there appears an explanation of alcoholism as we understand it, then a chapter addressed to the agnostic. Many who were once in this class are now among our members. Surprisingly enough, we find such convictions no great obstacle to a spiritual experience. And it's because there's no one right way. There's no wrong way to get to God. Well, maybe there is, but not in here. Further on, clear-cut directions are showing how we recovered. I missed that recovered. It's not underlined in my book. How many times have I been through this and not seen that one? A lot. These are followed by 42 personal experiences. Okay. I want to bring up real quick the clear-cut directions. They kind of started at page 58, and we'll be covering some of these, but we're not going to be changing the verbiage in the first 164 pages. It doesn't need to be changed. Okay. What changes are the personal stories. Those are what we use to meet you where you were at. Okay. But the 164 pages, there's nothing wrong with them. They're like, the verbiage is outdated. No, they're speaking proper English, actually. There's not anything in here so far that I've come across. Okay. All right. Each individual in the personal story describes in his own language and from his own point of view the way he established his relationship with God. These give a fair cross-section of our membership and a clear-cut idea of what has actually happened in our lives. And that's what my podcast is about, is varying stories. Everybody's story is different, and we need it because it brings hope. Oh, I went through that. I thought I was the only person that went through that. Nope. All right. We hope that no one will consider these self-revealing accounts in bad taste. Our hope is that many alcoholic men and women desperately in need will see these pages, and we believe that it is only by fully disclosing ourselves and our problems that they will be persuaded to say, yes, I am one of them too. I must have this thing. All right. So, what are we kind of learning here? Well, we discovered the different types of alcoholics. We discovered that we have a solution, and that solution is kind of spiritually based. Okay. There were a lot of things that we discovered in here, but really what we were doing was kind of qualifying the fact that we are truly indeed alcoholic, like the page 21 drunk, right? All right. The next one will be more about alcoholism, and I hope you join me with that. Please feel free to leave any comments if I'm missing anything or you'd like to have something else. Please just let me know. But in the meantime, thank you everybody for being here. I love you. Peace out and have a day.